Hello and welcome to All Access. I'm Angela Stribling, and we have someone very special with us today. Tony Cornelius is going to tell us everything, things you've never known before. It's all happening right now on All Access. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we're going to know so many things that we didn't know about Tony Cornelius, but we're going to start off a little easy. How many of you have not yet met Tony Cornelius? Everyone's met you.
Everybody in this audience knows me.
They do. You know what?
They don't know you, but they know me.
They don't know me. Oh, so it's like that. Well, then let me introduce myself. I'm Angela Stribling, host of Pillow Talk with Angela on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141, where we
Doesn't she sound good, guys? Doesn't she sound good?
Aw, thank you
Doesn't
so
she's
much.
got a wonderful voice. She really does. I'm Angela Stribling. I do Pillow Talk.
What do I do?
Unbelievable.
Pillow Talk. Tony, you've been on Pillow Talk, and we were talking about this very cruise. And, let's talk about just your involvement. The first Soul Train cruise. How did this whole thing come about with you?
Well, the first Soul Train cruise was really an idea that, several of the Star Vista executives were, toying with when they decided to get into the cruise business. And, they talked about it, and finally we did it. And it just worked out fabulous,
It's a great idea. I mean, it seems like it would be a complicated thing to get going. Do they come to you and get permission? You've got to sign your life away to the Star Vista people. How does it go?
Well, I can't tell you all that, I mean, but no, they came to us and thought it might be a great idea, and we said yes, and it just went on from there. I mean, it was to go from land to sea, and to have the folks follow us with the loyalty that they've had for all these years was just unbelievable.
It's got to be unbelievable because, like you, I've been on all of them, and I love it. Just walking around talking to people who have cruised before, and they say that this is their favorite one. What is it about this cruise that makes it so special?
I think what makes it special is the artists that have been invited to perform on the ship. The connection between the artists and the guests. It's just one of those experiences that you don't really get on most themed cruises. Yeah. So I think the Soul Train cruise has really, started something special when it comes to the kind of music that we get involved in and the kind of artists and how they feel. The artists are really excited about being on the cruise as well.
Before I ever met you, and a mutual friend of ours told me about you and told me what he was trying to do and invited me to be a part of it, my first thought was, wow, Don Cornelius's son is carrying on the legacy. And I'm sure you must hear this all the time. Tony, I've been with you on these cruises, and you can't take 2 steps without someone trying to take your picture. And, I'm always wondering, what is he thinking? How does he feel about all of this? So if you will, let's talk about you growing up with your dad with Soul Train. How involved were you with Soul Train as a kid?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I'm humbled by the fact that people want to take pictures with me because I'm clearly not Don Cornelius. Clearly. And those are some awfully large shoes to fill, and sometimes I feel extremely proud, and then sometimes humble, and then sometimes I fear it, and then, but it's my father, and I'm sure he'd be proud of me, even though he was a hard guy to please. I think he'd be very happy with the accomplishments. I really do.
Yes.
I really do.
There's no question about it. And yeah, very large shoes. So I can imagine growing up with this, amazing figure that all the top entertainers revered and respected and, wanted to be on this national show back in the day. That was pretty much all you had. There was, American Bandstand, and there was Soul Train. And you learned all your dances, you learned fashion, you learned so much, all the music. Anybody who was anybody in music, especially, soul and R&B, they had to be on Soul Train. So, to carry on this legacy in your own special way, like you said, you're clearly not Don Cornelius.
Absolutely. Well, it's funny when people would always say, well, this is Don's son. I would always shy away from that. And then when my father's passed in 2012, when they say this is Don's son, I'm like, yeah, I'm Don's son. So it was something that I had to really wrap my hands around because I'm kind of a behind the scenes kind of guy. I've never thought about being in front of the camera. I've always been behind the camera. And it's really nice to know that people loved him, and now they seem like they love me a bit. So.
Yeah, they do. Let's talk about your behind the scenes ventures. You're a producer. Tell us what you do. Who is Tony? What do you do for a career?
What do I do? Wow. How much time you have?
We got time. We've got time.
But some things that I'm really proud of is I started a foundation, the Don Cornelius Foundation, back in 2012 when my father committed suicide. And I thought it was really important to talk about suicide awareness and mental health. And that's something I'm really proud of. Along with that, I produce independent projects, and I'm hustling just like everybody else in this cotton candy world. So,
yeah.
Those are really some things that I work on.
Let's talk about the foundation a little bit more. I love the fact you gave me a bracelet a couple years ago. It represents, I guess, people who have been, families left behind, or
right.
People.
I
Who
am the
committed
face.
suicide.
I am the face of suicide prevention.
Yes, that's it. That's what you gave me. It's a subject that people don't like to talk about in families. If someone committed suicide, you don't hear people just voluntarily talking about it.
Absolutely.
So what you're doing is saying, this isn't anything for you to be ashamed of. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be front and center. So what does your foundation do?
Well, the foundation actually supports organizations that are on the ground floor helping those that need help. So we promote awareness. We do walks. We have conversations. We try to develop programming that would help facilitate those organizations that are on the ground floor. And I decided to remove the veil of shame that is mostly associated with suicide, and become that face. We're all the faces of suicide prevention. And if we can save one life, we've done our job.
I love that. I love that. I know we're going to be taking a break, and, how many of you can relate to that? I mean, just in your own lives, in your own families, or someone that you know. I mean, I know people, I'm very close to people who have suicide in their families. It's very close. So, just like Tony said, we're all the face of suicide, right? I saw a couple hands going up. Is that it? Okay, good. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, now Tony promised that we're going to talk about a little bit of dirt.
You don't really want to hear any dirt, do you?
I want to hear some. Does anyone want to hear some dirt? Any scandal?
I think everybody raised their hand early on
They
when we talked about
did.
who wants to hear dirt.
Maybe we could get them. Maybe we can get people to tell us some dirt. No?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know about that.
We'll just make up some stuff.
Yeah, let's make up something.
I've been cruising for a long time. I love cruises. I love this type of cruise. I used to go on cruises, just regular ones, and I said, this is just not my thing. I hope no one ever invites me to go on a cruise because that's just not my thing. I come on this cruise with all the artists that I would pay good money to see every single night. You've got it every day, every night. You've got question and answer sessions. You've got access to a lot of the artists where you can just go right up to them and take a picture, and they're all so cool. That to me is a bargain. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime situation, right? So, but what I was going to say is, in terms of maybe some of those situations that have gone a little funny, we can talk about that when we get back. You're watching Access Live, and we'll be right back. So I've got a very special guest here. Tony Cornelius is the ambassador of the Soul Train Cruise. Do you like that title?
That's a good tip. What does ambassador mean to you?
To me, it means
Does that mean a guy that walks around the ship and shakes hands all the time?
That would be that guy.
Takes pictures with everybody?
Everybody.
To get all the complaints that come along with that?
You get that, too. I think
My air conditioning doesn't work. I don't like the food. Can we have an act that we don't have? Things like that.
You think he's joking? People have been coming up to poor Tony and asking that.
Can we get another T-shirt? You know, I got sick off the. Actually, I was in the elevator today, and I was it was a group of at least 7 of us, stuck in the elevator, crowded elevator, and a woman was standing in the middle, and she says, "Oh, I don't feel that well," and everyone goes, "Wow, what happened?" She said, "I got sick off the jambalaya." Right?
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, now why would you say that?
I know.
Obviously, she felt really bad because it wasn't true. She
no.
probably got on board and she was sick before she got on board, but she was trying to start a rumor.
And no one's going to have the jambalaya.
And rumors about food on a cruise can be awful.
It can be awful. I was on a cruise once. It was this type of cruise. And there was a woman who convinced the powers that be that she needed this dog. It was a cute little dog. It was her, some kind of a dog. Maybe it was a Yorkshire Terrier or something like that. Cute little doggy. She convinced them that this was her, what do you call those dogs? Like a seeing eye dog? Service dog.
Service dog, right.
So the woman was carrying around the dog, or you'd see the dog, everywhere on the ship. And then people started complaining because she started feeding the dog from the food from the buffet while she's holding the dog. The dog is all over the place, going to the bathroom where and when the dog wanted. And finally, the powers that be, at the first stop, the first port, called her in. You're going to have to leave. Because they realized this is not a service dog. What are you doing with a dog on a ship? That was the funniest thing I had ever seen on a cruise.
Yeah, that is amazing. We've heard all kinds of things, but the point is that I really try to make sure that everybody's as comfortable as they can possibly be on this cruise, because I really want everybody to have a great time, and I think the majority of people have had a great time.
Yeah.
Can we get a round of applause about those who've had a great time here so far?
Aww.
Listen to that. Listen to that.
I love it.
Listen to that.
I love that. So, along with all the great music, what do you think is the most fun thing for people? What is the most fun? The after party.
The Soul Train after parties are off the hook here.
They are off the hook.
They really are.
You know what?
If you can stay up till 4 o'clock a.m.
Right. I think I lasted until 2 o'clock last night. Had to get up early this morning and was kind of regretting it, but it was so worth it.
Yeah.
Have you been partying late at night?
I partied till 4 a.m. the other night, and I paid for it the next one. But it's a lot of fun. We have great DJs here. Obviously we have some people that complain about the music, but overall, I think they do a great job.
I think things can be perfect, and there are just people who like to find something.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, here we are in paradise. I'm a cup half full person.
Are you?
I am.
Okay.
And I mean, of course, everything is not perfect, but you kind of figure it out. It's like, okay,
We have a
everything's
good
not going to
time.
be
We
perfect.
have a good time here.
We do have a good time. And I think most of the people who come up to me love it. Last night we had these Pillow Talk with Angela, had a seminar. And it was for singles and, they called it singles and solos. So there were a lot of single guys, a lot of single women who came up, and I just came up with these topics. The first topic was, what do men really want? What do women really want? So we were talking. I mean, I think there were a couple of matches by the end of the night.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, at first, I think one of the guys said men want honesty. And then a woman kind of went off and said, well, but I think those two had chemistry. They were fighting at first, but it kind of worked out.
So let me ask you a question. What do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I am a single woman, and in terms of what do I want in a relationship or just in general?
Just in a relationship.
Oh, okay, because I want a whole lot of stuff. Okay, in a relationship, a man who is honest, who I'm really compatible with, who is loving, who is supportive, and who I can just love so much. I want to spoil him, and I want him to spoil me too.
Okay. She's just saying that because she's on the microphone.
No, that's really.
I don't believe that at all.
That's what I want.
don't believe
You know
it. I
what?
don't believe it. I don't believe
I'm
it.
one who believes that good partnership makes you both really stronger. If it's not, right? If you're not in a good relationship, it weakens you. And, you've got to work to get it back together. Or, once you can't do anymore, unfortunately, it's time to go. But I think, we're better together. And it's a constant thing where, as we talked about all kinds of things. Like on my radio show, we talk about sex, we talk about love, we talk about, how to get those sparks going when, it starts waning, when you start taking each other for granted, things you can do to spice things up. Everybody's hanging on to my every word.
This sounds like pillow talk. This doesn't sound like all access right now. This ain't pillow talk, okay?
Oh, it kind of is.
This ain't this okay?
Oh, what's so funny? Speaking of pillow talk, I have seen people coming on this ship alone, but they are not alone anymore. There have been some matches made on this ship.
I think there's been some hookups here.
You've seen it, right?
I really do.
Especially late at night, you can go on the ship going to the top, and then there are some private areas where you can just, hang out and talk and get to know each other and listen
that
to
happens
the
on the
ocean.
Soul Train cruise.
That's what happens on the Soul Train cruise.
It's a hookup.
Yes, it's definitely a wonderful. I mean, if you can't find love on a cruise like this, come on.
That's right.
And a lot of couples here too. Any couples here in the audience? Oh, beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Singles?
Okay.
Single people?
Singles?
All right.
Wow.
Looking for that hookup.
Looking for a hookup.
Oh, I love it. Finding
Singles looking
love
for a
on the
hookup.
Soul Train cruise.
Okay.
A good idea is to just, I would recommend people do everything. The cabins are comfortable and they're nice and you've got the balcony, but I don't think you should spend a whole lot of time in your cabin, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many different things to do, and you're on the cruise. I would like to just see everybody take advantage of as many things as you could possibly do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because it's designed that way. We've got question and answer sessions. Right. We've got all access, or whatever you want to call this show. We've got Tony Cornelius pouring out his heart. What do we want to know about Tony?
Ain't that the truth?
That is the truth.
Ain't that the truth?
And I haven't even begun to ask all the questions I want to ask you.
Was there anything you would like to ask me that you haven't asked me?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Go ahead, ask.
Okay, let's talk about your love life.
Wow. Nobody wants to know about my love life.
You said no limits.
Does anybody want to know about my love life? They're just saying that. They don't really want to know.
Tony is rolling his eyes at me at the moment.
They don't want to know.
Okay, are you married? Are you single? Do you have children? What's your story?
I was married. I have a 19-year-old daughter who I'm extremely proud of, who is a second-year student at Harvard.
Oh, beautiful.
Exactly. And, I've seen a lot, I've seen a lot. That's all I'm going to say.
You didn't say very much.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, so you were married. So you're a single man.
Is this pillow talk?
No.
Because if it ain't pillow talk, don't ask me a question like that.
He said I can. You guys, everybody wants to know. Okay, I think we got the answer.
No, I feel the same way you do. As far as a great relationship, two people who, can kind of have the same vision,
You think what's a hookup?
Wait a minute now. Hold up now.
As I flip my hair.
Hold up. No, I do have to say, Angela and I have done some things together, and we were at an event. Well, come on, guys, not like that.
No, not like that.
We've been in the same rooms together.
Yeah.
in several events, and I took her. You know, it was a tuxedo, and she had on a fabulous
we were
dress.
fabulous
and, you know,
that day. That was fun.
And the whole night she was walking up to me, Tony, can we take a picture together? Can we take a
I
picture
did
together?
not. Okay,
And finally I
that's not
said,
true.
okay, Angela, let's take a picture together. So we take this picture together,
We
and
did.
I've got on the tuxedo, and she's got on this white outfit, and you know,
Everybody
it
put
was really
us
a
together.
good picture.
It was a pretty good picture.
So I sent the picture to my mom, my mother, and she says, "Oh my God, Tony, you guys make a fabulous couple." And I said, "I'm not going to tell Angela that." Okay?
I've always loved your mom. Oh, I love
So
it.
it was a really nice picture. It really
That
was,
a good
Angela.
picture.
It really was.
That was a good picture. Okay, now we're both blushing up here. Let's move on. We're going to take a break. I think this is a good time to take a break. We've got a little bit more, though. There's so much more we can talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about the Soul Train cruise after the break. Okay.
Getting a little too close. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All Access. I'm Angela Stribling here with my co-host, but today he is my superstar being interviewed, Tony Cornelius. Now, I like to call you the ambassador of the Soul Train cruise because you kind of are. You really are. I mean, you represent the Soul Train brand, right? Whether you like it or not.
Well, I think that's true. I think that's true.
Yeah.
But you know, my father used to tell me a long time ago. He says, "Everybody's expendable." You know, so I walk softly. You know, and because things do change, and business is business, and you have to respect that. You really do.
I love that. I mean, the humility, that speaks volumes to your character. Because you're right. I mean, no one is expendable, or everyone is expendable, and you can't take it for granted. But as we started talking about when we just got started, you're carrying on such a powerful legacy. You bring on the major acts every night. You're bringing them on stage. And they're honored to meet you, to have that torch being passed on to you, even though, no, you're not Don Cornelius.
No, I'm not Don Cornelius. No.
But you are Tony Cornelius. And that's a big deal. Yeah.
See, now you're making these people seem like they love me, and I know they don't love me.
Yeah, they
I know
do.
they don't love
Yeah,
me.
they do.
You guys don't love me, do you? See, it's called audience participation.
No. Okay, then let me ask you this. When there's no camera, there's no microphone, and we're walking around, I'm walking with you. People are moving me out of the way and saying, "Here, could you just take the camera? Could you take the picture?" Or one time,
that is true.
It is
That is
very
true.
true.
That is
One
true.
time I was trying to, photobomb, and this woman said, could you? I said, "You know what? I don't even blame you. In fact, let me take the picture." So that's a lot of love.
I
And
kind of feel sorry for you that
it
time.
was really bad. I was feeling really
Because I know you think you're cute and everything.
well,
Right?
no.
She's always throwing her hair back.
No.
And,
Only when I was trying to get your attention. No, but you know what? The reason I love the fact that I love your personality, and I love the way that, I've met your mom. I've never met your dad, unfortunately. But your mom is very similar to my mother, who is in the audience. And my parents always brought us up, to be very humble and grateful, and to, not let your ego get out of whack, because that is the lie, that is the facade. If someone compliments your looks, you don't really have anything to do with that. That's just happens that way. But your character, that you can take a compliment for. And I am complimenting your character.
well, thank you, Angela. Thank you. That was so sweet.
It was
That
very
really
honest.
sweet.
It's very honest.
Oh my God, I'm blushing all over. Angela.
So Tony, the artist, a lot of the artists that you get to interact with here on the cruise, has there been anyone who has just really blown you away? Someone that you've talked to and just, anyone?
They all blow me away because they remember how my father treated them, when they did the show. I mean, he was always extremely respectful about artists, dealing with artists, and respecting their talents. And, I feel the same way, and I stay out of their way. And many times, as he told me for years, if you let them do what they want to do, you end up getting all the credit. you know. And that's what he's practiced, and that's what it's always been. We've always had a respect for artists, you know.
That's beautiful. You know, the other day, last year we had Smokey Robinson on the cruise. How many of you were there? Oh, wasn't that amazing? So last week, Smokey Robinson was on Pillow Talk with Angela, and we're doing a documentary.
She's bragging, guys, just so you know.
Oh, I was so excited to have Smokey on the show. You have no idea. I love him and everything he represents. And one of my best friends, unfortunately, passed away. Melvin Lindsay and I used to do what Tony and I are doing. Melvin was my co-host on Screen Scene, a show I hosted on BET. And Melvin Lindsay created a radio format. I mean, not a lot of people can create a radio format. He created The Quiet Storm. Created The Quiet Storm. Yes, you can clap. And that radio show started at Howard University Radio, WHUR, which is where I work. And now it's heard around the world. So every night we play Smokey Robinson's Quiet Storm. So we interviewed him for that. And so I'm talking to him, and he's, talking about the cruise. He's talking about the Soul Train cruise in the middle of an interview that has absolutely nothing to do with it. And guess whose name comes up?
Tony Cornelius.
Yes. So talk about impact that you might not even.
Smokey's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yes, and
really
he
is.
was just talking about you and how humble you are and how honored he was to meet you.
Yeah, Smokey. So there was an interesting story. I was playing golf with Smokey, and I thought I'd bring something up to him that I thought was really odd at the time. We were doing a show with Aretha Franklin, and Aretha wanted us to turn off the air conditioning. I mean, we've got thousands of people in the audience, and she's like, turn off the air conditioning. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, no.
We can't turn off the air conditioning. So when the Queen of Soul says turn off the air conditioning, you turn off the air conditioning. So we turned it off. And I just thought it was, very odd that she would ask that. So I told Smokey the story. And he said, Tony, I would ask you to turn the air conditioning off as well. And he began to explain to me how important it is for a singer's instrument to be warm and not cold.
That's right.
And she actually did us a favor by asking us to turn it off. And it was a huge lesson for me through him that I understood. And those are the kind of things that I learned, throughout my career in speaking to artists and letting them do what they do. So I'm very, very blessed to know Smokey and learn things from Smokey as well. Yeah.
Just one of the things you get from the Soul Train cruise. You get to interact, take pictures, take selfies with luminaries like Mr. Smokey Robinson, Shaka Khan. Did you guys check her out in concert? Yes. Oh, my goodness. Talk about another icon, another legend.
Absolutely. Just wait until they see Peebo Bryson.
Oh, yes.
Peebo is unbelievable. You guys are going to be blown away by Peebo Bryson.
Yes.
You really are. You're blown away.
And in fact, not only his concert, but we're doing an all-access, backstage, whatever I want to call this show.
Absolutely. It's not Pillow Talk.
It's not Pillow. Well, today it kind of is. Yeah, that's good. So, all right, I know we've got to wrap up, and I keep coming up with these questions. Are there any artists that you haven't had or that hasn't been on the Soul Train cruise that you can't wait to have on?
Well, there's two in particular. One is Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Look at all that noise we got from Stevie Wonder.
That's the loudest. That's the loudest they've gotten.
And two is Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
And those are two artists that I would just love to see on the Soul Train cruise,
And you've already warned us, it could be hot in the Caribbean, that air conditioning is going to be off.
Absolutely.
During
Absolutely.
Aretha Franklin's concert. But, that would be amazing.
It would be amazing. It would be
good.
amazing. And I'm looking forward to Soul Train cruise even traveling further, I mean, let's do, Cuba. Let's go somewhere far,
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to some of that as well,
That sounds really good.
Does
I love it.
anybody want to go
what?
out of the country? The Soul Train cruise want to go out of the country?
Yes. You know what? While you have your hands together, keep your hands together for our special guest, the ambassador Tony Cornelius. I'm Angela Stribling. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is All Access.